Good evening, everyone. This is BremSter, and today I'm going to try and record a puzzle that has been sitting in my queue for quite a while. This is Dutch Flatmates 159 plus even by GoodCity. And I'm not sure why I've sat on this one for quite a while. Possibly because the Dutch Flatmates rule. I'm really not sure. But let's have a look at the puzzle. Anything to call out going on at the moment? No, things are pretty good right now, so let's just have a look at it. So, normal Sudoku rules apply. In every box, in every row, and in every column, the digits 1 to 9 must be placed without repetition. Fives live in Dutch flats. All fives in the grid must strictly have either a 1 directly above it and or a 9 directly below it. It may have both, but it doesn't need both. So, for example, if this was a 5 in the grid, there must either be a 1 above it, a 9 below it, or both 1 and 9. That is what's required. I have no idea how this is going to work considering the next rule. 159. Digits in column 1 indicate the position of 1 in their respective row. So, for example, if this was a 3, then ignoring the other constraints, this would have to be the 1, because this is saying the 1, because this is column 1, has to be in column 3, because this 3 is saying we count 3 across, and that's where the 1 goes. If this was a 4, then this is saying that the 1 would be in column 4. Now, the same thing is happening. Digits in column 5 indicates the position of 5 in the respective row, and digits in column 9 indicate the position of 9 in their respective row. Cool. And then even, digits in a square are even. So these must be even digits. Now, I'm not sure I want to color those. Anyway, I'm going to restart the puzzle to restart my timer. Now, I don't think I want to color even odd, but I do know these are all 2, 4, 6, 8. So these are all 2, 4, 6, 8, and I'll just mark those because I can see there's a lot of digits that can be 2, 4, 6, 8. Now, three can't go in any of these. 3 is in one of those 3, which, okay, so what do we know? Right, let's talk about some 159 concepts that I know. One of these must be a 2, and one of these must be an 8. Why is that? Because if there is an entropy trick going on with 159, because wherever the 2 goes is going to put a 1 in one of these cells. But the 4 and the 6 can't both exist here because the 4 would put a 1 in one of those cells and the 6 would put a 6 in one of those cells. So if this was 4 and this was 6, it'd put 1 in those 2 cells and we'd have the 2 1s in one box. The other way of thinking about it is you need a 1, 2, or 3 to put a 1 in this box. You need a 4, 5, or 6 to put a 1 in one of this box, and you need a 7, 8, 9 to put a 1 in this box. So you must have a low, a middle, and a high digit here. The only low digit is 2, the only high digit is 8, and I can't put a 1 in either of those. So that's the 1, that's the 8. There's no 8 in either of those. That means this is not the 1, the 2 is in one of those 2. This can't be a 4 or a 6 because the 4 would put a 1 here and this is even. A 6 would put a 1 here and this is even. So that's the 2, that's the 1. This is not the 2, this is the 4, 6, and there's a 1 in one of those 2. Very cool. There's no 2 in either of those. There's no 2 here. Very cool. Now, can I repeat that maybe down here? Because there must be a 2 in one of these. And wherever the 2 is, it's the same logic but reversed for 9s. I can put 1 9, then I must put 1 9 in this box, which is going to be placed by the 8, which is going to put a 9 in one of those. I must put a 2, and it's going to put the 9 in one of those, but neither of those can be the 9. So that's the 9, making that the 2, taking 2 out of those, and that can't be a 9. One of these must be an 8 here. Now, this can't be a 4, but it could be a 6. And this one could be 6 or 8. So there's a 9 in one of those 2 and a 9 in one of those 3. But the 5 in this column is now restricted because it must have a 1 either directly above it or a 9 directly below it. If that was a 5, that's a 2, and that doesn't work. So because of the Dutch flats, the 5 must exist in one of those two cells, because these, yeah, the 5 Dutch flats, all 5s in the grid must either have a 1 directly above it or a 9 directly below it. Now, there must be a 5 in this column. If it's here, there's no 1, 9 above it. If it's here, there's no 1, 9 above it. So it's in one of those two cells. So they're the only two cells in the column. Let's use red. Actually, let's not use red. That's a terrible color. Let's use yellow. One of these two is the 5. But if this is the 5, this has to be a 2, because we're putting the 5 in column 2 and 5 is indexed. But I can't put a 2 here because this is a 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's not the 5. This is the 5. This is the 2. And I can take 2 out of all of those. This puzzle is really good. Why did I sit on this for so long? Because BremSter is an idiot. Okay, so this is very cool. So the 5... So I've got the low. There must be a 5 in one of those two, because one of these must be an 8, and then the 5s are in one of those. Because remember, I've still got the entropy trick going on everywhere. The middle digit in here can't be a 5, because I can't put a 5 in here. And remember, each one of these has to... So because I can't put a 5 in here, I can't put the 1 in this box. Oh, no. Sorry, I can't put a 1. Yeah, I can't put a 1 in this column, but I need to put a 5 in this column somewhere. So the 5 is down here somewhere. Yeah, where's 5 in this column? That's the way to ask the question. It's not up here. It's not down here. The 5 is down here. The 5 is going to put a 1 in one of those, but I can't put it there. So that's not the 5. 1 is in one of those two. But the 5 in this column, the 5 in that column needs to have a 1 directly above it or a 9 directly below it. Now, if I put a 5, so where can the 5 go? It has to go in one of those cells by the nature of it being odd. Can't be here because I can't have a 1 above it or a 9 below it. And it can't be here because I can't have a 1 above it or a 9 below it. So the 5 is in one of those, and it's a self-indexing 5, and that will be the middle digit. But I can't put a 1 above it because the 1 is in one of those two because of this 4, 6. So the 5 has a 9 below it. So that can't be the 5. The 9 is in one of those two. That's cool. And because of that, one of these two is a 5. Because the 5 is indexing the 9 into that position. That's cool. So that's the high digit in here. Oh, the 8 that must be in here means this isn't an 8. This is the middle digit, which means 5 is in one of those two cells. This is 1. And then it must be a high digit because this is middle. So this is 1, 7, 8, 9. That can't be 9. In fact, I can't put 5 in any of those. So this can't be a 9 either. So this is a 1, 7, 8. Oh, it can't be an 8. This is a 1, 7 pair because these have to be odd because those are all... Yeah, it can't be an 8. This is a 1, 7 pair, which means the 5 is in those two and those two. But it means that I know what this triple is. This is 3, 5, 9. And I can't put the 5 here because it needs to have the 9 below it, and I can't put the 9 here. But that means the 5, one of them is in one of those two, one of them is in one of those two, and one of them is in one of those three. Which makes sense because I had the 5 here and here. Yes, that does make sense. This is fun. I'm liking this. Okay. And the question I'm asking myself now is, where does 5 go in all the columns? Because a self-indexing 1 could go in either of those. And it has to. Because I can't put a 9 below either of these 5s. Because I can't put a 9 here and I can't put a 9 off the grid. So there has to be a 1 above one of those 5s. A 1 here would be self-indexing and fine. A 1 here would be self-indexing and fine. I think. At least I can't see why it would be a problem. I'm going to get rid of this 999 pencil mark. It's kind of messing with my brain a little. But 5 is in one of these two. And I can't have a 1 above it because of this 1. So 9 is in one of those two. And again, it's a self-indexing 9. Oh, that can't be a 5. If this was a 5, I couldn't put a 1 above it and I couldn't put a 9 below it. That's not the 5, that's the 5, which means this is the 8 and this is the 4, 6, putting 5 in one of those two. This is so cool. Now, this 5 can't have, neither of these 5s can have a 9 below it. So there's a 1 above it in one of those two spots. So this is an X-wing on 1s. Okay, that's a little tricky, but I think it's true. Is it true? Yes, it is true. Because if this is a 5, that's a 1. This is a 5 and that's a 1. There is an X-wing on 1s in those squares. But I'm not sure how I can use that. This 5 must have a 9 below it in one of those. So one of these must be a 3. Actually, that's what I should be thinking about. One of these is a 1. So this is a 1-7 pair. That's the way to think about it, because this is an X-wing on 1s, because this 5 can't have a 9 below it, because the 9 is in here because of the 8. This 5 can't have a 9 below it. So one of these has to have a 1 above it. This 5 can't have a 9 below it. This 5 can't have a 9 below it. So it has to have a 1 above it. So if there's a 1 here, I can't put a 1 here and there's a 1 in those two, and vice versa. There's a 1 in one of those two, which will place where the 5s go. But more important than that, this is, if there's a 1 here, this is a 7, and this is a 1, and if there's a 1 here, this is a 7 to index the 1. This is a 1-7 pair. That's so cool. The middle digit in here, I still don't know, do I? Well, where's the 9 in this column? Oh, no, that's it. It's, since I got this 9, it's really simple. I can't put 9 in there or in there. So the 9 is in one of those two, putting the 1 in one of those two. And once I put the 1 in one of those two, well, more importantly, I can't have two high digits. The 9 is in one of those. If this is a 7, this is a 1, that can't be the 1. So these can't be the 1. These are 1s, and that makes that the 7. That's really, really nice. The 7 is in here, so this is a 5-8 pair. Because I need... Oh, no. I've got a 5. There's a low digit in here. And the low digit... This is a 3-5 pair. Because... And that can't be a 3. Because I need a low, a middle, and a high. And there's a low here and a low here. So I need a low here. I need something that's going to place a 1 here. But that can't be a 3, because that would have to be the 1. So that's the 5. That's the 3. That's the 1. That's the 7. The 3 here makes that the 1. And the 7 here makes that the 5. And that's not the 5. This is so cool. And of course, that's put a 1 above that 5. This 5 has a 1 above it. This 5 has a 9 below it. There must be a 9 below this 5, but I already knew that, I think. This can't be a 5 anymore. If this is a 5, I can't put a 1 above it because the 1 isn't available, and I can't put a 9 below it. That's not the 5, that's the 5. I can't put a 1 above it, so I have to put the 9 below it, meaning that's not the 9, that's the 9, which makes that the 8, which makes that the 6, which reflects correctly on that being the 9. The 8 takes 8 out of there. 6 comes out of both of those. There's a 3 in one of those. No, where's 3 in this row? I can't put it in any of those. There's a 3 in the box. That's the 3, and this is 2, 4, 6. which means all of those are even. So these are 3, 5, 7, and 9. Yeah. But this is a triple. 3, 4, and 7. There's no 3 or 7 there. That's the 4. This is a 3, 7. Great. Hang on. 2 comes out of there. This is 4, 6, or 8. This is 4, 6, 9. So there's a 1 in one of those and a 1 in one of those, which is holding true right now. The 4 is taking 4 out of all of those. This is and the 6, 8 pair is making that the 2, taking 2 out of there. That is all of the even digits. So 1, 5, this is a 3 or a 7. So 1 is in here, 2 is in here. There must be a 3 up here, which is putting a 9 in here, which means the 9 can't be here. Right, so 3 must be in here in order to maintain the entropy of the 159. Because if I put 3 in here, I'm putting a 9 in here and a 9 in here, which doesn't work. And I can't do it down here because the 9 isn't in one of those. So the 3 must be up here to put the 9 in one of those. But this can't be the 9, because then the 5 wouldn't have a 9 below it or a 1 above it. So this can't be the 3. This is actually a 3, 5 pair. This can't be the 9. And this can't be the 5. This can't be the 5 because I couldn't put a 9 below it or a 1 above it, because this can't be a 1 and that can't be a 9. That can't be a 9 because the 9 is over there. So this isn't the 5. And if this isn't the 5, that's not a 3. That's a 9. This is a 3, 5 pair. And that's now a 3, 5 pair looking over, making that the 9, that the 5, which makes that the 3, that the 5, that the 3. The 3 looks at the 9. The 5 is self-indexing. The 3 is saying the 5 is there. This is neat. This is the 5, which is indexing with the 9. Beautiful. The 5 needs a 1 above it or a 9 below it, which makes that the 1. The 9 is self-indexing, but the 1 here is indexing the 9 into that spot. This is a 4, 6, which means that the 1 is in one of those two. This has to be a middle digit, which is a 4, because it has to be, because 5 and 6 are gone, and I can't use a low or a high digit. The 4 makes that the 9, and this has to be a high digit, and I can't use 8 or 9. That's a 7, which is indexing a 9 into that spot. 4 is in one of those two. I could have done it by Sudoku, but I'm playing with indexing and having a whole lot of fun. So this 5 is good. It's got a 9 below it. This 5 is good. It's got a 1 above it. This 5 is good. This 5 is good. This 5 is good. I haven't got a 5 in this column yet. Well, that's not the 5 anymore. This is the 5, and it's good. This 5 is good. This 5 is good. Right, I've done with Dutch flats. Dutch flats is done. Every 5 is placed in the grid and they all meet the requirements. So now it's just a 159 with even squares. I say just. When I say that, I mean one of the rule sets is eliminated. I'm saying it's just. No, it's just what's left. Please, it's not a derogatory just. It's what I got. So 4 comes out of those. This is a 2, 6, 8 triple. So 2 is in one of those. This has to be 3 or 7, giving me a 3, 7 pair. So this is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. This has to be even. And I can see 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 here. So this is 4, 6, or 8. 7 in this row? Not sure. So have I placed all the 9s? I hope I have. Yes, have I placed... I should have placed a lot of 1s. 3, 1, 1, self-indexing, 9, 1, 4, 6. Yeah, I've got this X-Wing on 1s left, which is great. Now, 3 is pointing at 5, 5 is self-indexing, 9 is pointing at 5, 8 is pointing at 5, 4... Oh, no, the 5 is there. That's the 4. That's the 6 pointing at those 5s. 2 is pointing at 5, 1 is pointing at 5, 6 is pointing at 5, 7 is pointing at 5. This is now done. Now, does that resolve this? I'm not sure it does, but those are all even. So this is a 3, 7 pair. Giving me that as a 3, 7 pair. So this is another even digit because 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So this is 2, 6, or 8. There's no 4 there. It's not 8 because of the 8 or 2. This is just a 6. Again, not a derogatory. It's all that's left, which takes 6 out of both of those. This is a 2, 8 pair. This 6 is taking 6 out of both of those. And there's no 6 here. This is a 6 by Sudoku, which is taking 6 out of there. 6 is in one of those two, which is taking 6 out of there. This is a 2, 8 pair, making that the 6, which is looking at making that the 8, which is taking 8 out of those. This is 4, 6. Yeah. That's a 4, 6 pair. So these are 1, 7, and 8. That can't be a 1. Don't know. These are... Oh, where's 2 in this box? That 2 is eliminating it from those. That's the 2. This is a 4, 8. But the 2 here and the 4 here means that's the 8. I could have got that from the 2, 4 pair. Again, it's not as if I've been staring at the grid going, oh my God, what am I missing? I've just been doing other stuff. So 1, 2... Yeah, this is 3, 7 here as well, isn't it? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because this is a 2, 4, 8 triple. This is 3, 7. This 8 is looking at making that the 7, taking 7 out of those. This is a 1, 8 pair. But the 7 makes that the 3, that the 7, that the 3. This is 4 or 6, giving me a 4, 6 pair in this row because that's what's missing from this box. So 1... Yeah, this 8 is taking 8 out of those. This is a 4, 6 pair, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are 2 and 7. And the 2 here is looking at making that the 7, that the 2. Am I missing something else in this column? Are these 1, 4, 6, 8? Yeah, they are. So this is a naked single. It sees 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. That's a 1, which means that's the 4 by indexing, which means that's the 8, that's the 2, that's the 6. The 2 is looking across making that the 8 and that the 2. This isn't the 1. That looks at making that the 8 and that the 1, which looks back, of course, making that the 6, which I have by Sudoku, but I now have by indexing, which makes that the 4. The 4 looks down, making that the 2 and that the 4. The 8 looks down, making that the 4, making that the 8. The 4 looks up, making that the 6 and that the 4. The 6 looks across, making that the 4, making that the 6. And I need to resolve the 3 7s somehow. The 3 looks across, making that the 7, that the 3, that the 7, that the 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 and 7 go in there, and I can just resolve them using what I've already found. That was stunningly fun. And this has had 378 solves in nearly a year, and I sat on this puzzle for way too long. It happens. But it does mean one of the things is when a puzzle is submitted to my channel, and I want to be clear about this, a setter should always feel free to reach out to me. You are not submitting into a black hole. You should always feel free to reach out to me and ask, have you forgotten my puzzle? That is something, if you submit to me, you can do. I may come back and say, listen, it went to my testers and my testers thought it wasn't an appropriate fit to the channel. That does happen. I may want to talk to you about what we can do to try and get it on the channel. Maybe it won't be a blind solve or something like that. I'm happy to do that, or pass it off to a guest solver maybe or something. Things like that can happen, but you are not submitting into a black hole of no communication possible. And if something comes in and you want to ask follow-up, now don't ask immediately, leave it a month or so, but you can always feel free to query. It's not a black hole. It's just not. But I did sit on this one for too long. I think this was a recommendation rather than submission. I don't know. This one didn't come in through the normal submission system, because I looked and it was not in my normal submission template, but it was in my testing queue. So it got there somehow. Possibly it was sent as a Discord message or something. I don't remember. It was months ago. But here it is. It's now surfaced. But yeah, my submission guidelines are linked. They're a pop up in every video, and they're linked below. And people can recommend puzzles and everything. But I we're a community, and we should feel free to communicate. So yeah, that's something that I try and do. I may not respond immediately, or even to the way you may like, but I will try and communicate. It's just the way it is. Thank you everyone for watching. Sorry, GoodCity, this took so long to be seen, but hopefully now it's useful to you. Thanks everyone for watching, and as always, good luck with your solving.